All right, so we're going to get started. So thank you all so much for taking the time to join us today. We are really excited to be talking more about this initiative. We're very excited at Lenfest about it. So before we get started, I just thought it would be good for us to introduce ourselves, the folks who will be helping with this webinar today. So I'll start. My name is Cheryl Thompson-Morton. I'm program manager here at the Lenfest Institute for Journalism, and I get to lead our diversity, equity, and inclusion initiative. So it's really great to be talking with all of you today. I'll be presenting the work and the idea, and also helping to answer any questions that you all may have. Kira?
Hey everyone, thanks so much for joining today. I am Kira Miller. I am the Business and Programs Analyst at the Lenfest Institute. I work alongside Cheryl, helping her execute the awesome programs that she runs, but I also assist with internal operations and with gift processing as well at the Institute. I'll be leading the Q&A portion of the webinar today, so any questions that you drop into the little Q&A portion at the bottom of the screen, I'll be reading those off and have Cheryl answer them at the end.
Hi everyone, my name is Yulia Elena Kazan and I am an intern at the Lenfest Institute for Journalism. I'm usually helping Cheryl and the operations team with any logistical programmatic tasks they need help with, and today I will help Kira with answering questions.
Awesome. So looking forward to talking more about it. Let's dive right in. So just an overview of what we're planning to discuss today. First, the welcome, which we already done. So one thing to knock off the list. The second is the program overview. So really, what is this experience going to be like as a fellow and as an executive advisor? And how to know whether you fit into one category or the other. Then we're going to go into an application overview for both the fellows and the executive advisors. Some of the things that make a strong application in those categories. And then, of course, we have to open it up for questions as well. Just FYI, this webinar will be recorded and shared once we are able to edit it. So, you know, if you miss some notes or things like that, we're more than happy to share this link. And everyone who RSVP will share a link with you as well. So just a few things, a few housekeeping items before we actually dive in. If you have questions, you can feel free to ask them as you have them in the Q&A function. As Julia and Kira said, we'll be collating those questions as they come in. So there's no need to wait until the end to put your question in. And then if afterwards you have a question that comes to mind, feel free to email us at grants@lenfestinstitute.org. We check that mailbox regularly, and a member of our team will be in contact with you for more information. So, why Constellation? As many of you may know, the Lenfest Institute has been working to support what we call the Philadelphia media ecosystem, which is how we describe the community of news providers that make sure the information needs of the community are met. And that works really well for organizations. But as we started to think about the individuals that help make this ecosystem the best in the country, in my opinion, we started to think about the different stars that we have here in the ecosystem. And so as opposed to thinking of this group as an ecosystem, we think of the individuals as part of a solar system, individual stars that provide value and light for us and help illuminate our path. And so any of you who know anything about the stars is that they're beautiful in certain places, but in a lot of places, because of light pollution, it's hard to see them. And that's no different in journalism. The light pollution in journalism and in many systems that's holding us back from seeing the stars in our solar system, specifically the stars that are people of color, is structural racism. And so we began to think about what are the things that we can do to best connect folks to the resources the contacts, and the opportunities they need to advance in their career. And so that's where Constellation came from, us listening to the community and thinking about what are all of the connections needed that we can provide that will help lead to advancement and increased equity in journalism in Philadelphia overall in all types of organizations. So, what is the Constellation Initiative? That was kind of a high level thinking of it. But this initiative is designed to provide career development support to mid-career media professionals of color. The program is going to last for 7 months. It's aiming to start in early October and go through April. And the training will be provided by the Craig Newmark Graduate School of Journalism. So that's the first pillar of this program. The second pillar is focused on mentorship, so being partnered with an executive advisor who can help you along your journey, and we'll talk explicitly about what that actually means further on in this presentation. And then a career coaching specifically around visibility and kind of more of the soft skills. So those are the 3 pillars of this program. The program is open to all media professionals in the greater Philadelphia area that are people of color. So that includes people who work in the editorial, product, business, technology, any part of the business, you name it, we're open to applications from you. So a little bit more background on what is Lenfest trying to learn in this process that may be helpful as you're thinking about structuring your application. The first is we're trying to understand what investments are required to diversify our ecosystems workforce, specifically in leadership positions. The second is to better understand the benefits derived from creating a replicable model to support diversified leadership that's more reflective of communities served, both for Philadelphia and for other markets nationally and internationally, as this program has gotten attention from both other cities and kind of the international market. And then finally, to better understand how a more diverse leadership team translates into increased diversity of our audiences. So this is a key learning question for the Institute, and we're hoping that this program is one way to help answer that as well. What is the impact that we're hoping to have? So all of these up top really lead to the last one at the bottom, but the first is to expand the knowledge of the fellows, specifically around growth and sustainability in newsrooms. The second is around increasing the awareness of highly skilled mid-career media professionals of color. And this is for both the cohort of fellows, this is for the executive advisors to find more of a pool of talent. It's for people outside of the program that we can connect you with. This is really about the stars are here, and it's time they turn the light pollution down and make sure that you see them. The third one is really about increased opportunities for career advancement for the fellows. And all of this hopefully leads to the last impact, which is increasing the diversification of leadership in newsrooms in our ecosystem. So with all of that said, let's get into what the experience is going to be like as a fellow in this program. So again, we have 3 pillars in this program, and the first is really about training. So the training is going to be led by the Executive Leadership Program within the Graduate School of Journalism at CUNY. This training is going to consist of 7 modules that you'll go through once a month in the topics that you see on the screen. And we have some bullets under each of them to let you know a little bit more of what we actually mean and what you should expect to get out of that session. Because we know all of these topics are really broad and we could go in a million directions. One thing to note here is that the goal of the training portion of this is not to make you an expert in any one area, but the goal is to help you have a general understanding of all of these different areas so that you can, 1, learn more, 2, be able to speak the lingo, and 3, figure out what areas of focus may be good for you as you're continuing to grow in your career. The first and last sessions we're hoping to do in person. So those will be 2-day modules, a day and a half that take place over a full Friday and half of a day on Saturday. The other sessions will take place virtually, and they will consist of 4 2-hour sessions regarding the topic that will take place on 2 consecutive weekends, which we're technically thinking of as Fridays and Saturdays. The second part of this program or pillar is about mentorship. So each fellow who's accepted into the program is going to be matched with an executive advisor that will provide additional support to the fellow in one of the following areas of focus. And you'll notice that these 5 areas of focus tie to some of the trainings that we saw in the previous slide. That's because, as I told you, in that first pillar, we're aiming for you to be able to be a generalist in all of those areas. In this section of mentorship, we're hoping to help you go deeper in an area of focus that is of interest to you. In this part of the project, you'll meet with your executive advisor at least once a month for at least an hour. And really the goal is to help you gain those skills and competencies you need to achieve the goals that you have for your career. I have to say this, if you are a fellow who's brought into this program, you will be matched according to what your need is, not according to who you like the most. And this is important to note because the goal is to gain the competencies you need to advance. And sometimes we have to gain those from folks that we wouldn't be friends with otherwise. And that's also why we ask some of the questions we ask. So just as an FYI, before you enter this relationship, you'll receive training about how to best approach this relationship and the type of relationship that we're expecting in this as well. So you're not going in there blind. Another thing to note is although we have these 5 key areas of focus, we're open to other areas of focus as well. So if you're like, hey, I've evaluated myself and I think the competency I need help with is actually different, then you can feel free to apply and let us know what that other thing is. There is an option for other in the application. The third pillar for the fellows of this experience is career coaching. So the career coaching will be conducted by Joyelle Crawford, who is a Black woman who has been doing this work for over 20 years. We've had her do some trainings with some of our other grantees, and she's absolutely wonderful and really great at her job. So this is really a treat. The fellows will receive one 45-minute session per month at no cost. And just a further note, none of the parts of this program are of any cost to the fellow. The coaching sessions aim to do the following things on the screen: motivate and encourage you to clarify those specific objectives and strategies to help you achieve your professional goals, assisting you in embracing the potential for growth and performance improvement, and then coaching you along that journey. And so these topics will probably be a little bit more about the softer skills. How do I increase my visibility at work? How do I network and really improve my community that I can pull from and collaborate with? Those are things that you'll work on in this aspect of the program. So what are the benefits of being a fellow? This takes a decent amount of work. And so I want to be mindful of that and talk about what are some of the benefits. We think there are a lot. So this will be a long list. Sorry for the text-dense slide. The first is gaining an understanding of product thinking and how to execute and create a product strategy. The second is about better understanding the revenue and the business side of the organization so that you can better think about your decisions with that in mind. The third is about creating workflows and processes to create an audience-centered news organization. The fourth is really about change management and strategic planning and having a better understanding of those best practices. The next one is about attracting and retaining diverse talent. Again, this program isn't just about getting us into leadership, but really thinking about once we're in those rooms, how do we have other people create space for other people to come and join us as well. And then becoming more effective in driving change and managing transformation in your respective news organizations. But wait, there's more. We also want you to gain the skills to navigate and advance in your career, specifically around like, how do I deal with all of the stress that happens as a person of color in these news organizations. As you all know, we're aiming to also work with the news organizations in this journey, but you know, as we all know, that change is not going to happen overnight. And in some cases, we still have an unnecessary burden put on us to make this work. And so how to manage those feelings will be something we hope you'll gain from this as well. Obviously, gaining the network and connections with your peers, with your executive advisors, with the instructors who will come in, with Lenfest, all of that we hope will be helpful as well. We hope that you'll have a clear direction in positions that can match the interests and competencies of you, the fellow. And then finally, receiving a stipend that could be used towards professional development. We will be offering all of the fellows in this program a stipend of $2,500 for their time. We won't make any requirements of what you have to use this stipend for, but it'll be really great, you know, if you use it towards increasing and continuing your journey on advancing in your career. So, with all of that said, what is the criteria? The first thing is we're looking for a person of color who works in a media organization within the following counties. So we're looking at the greater Philadelphia area, not just Philadelphia itself, but these are the counties of focus for this program. The second is we're open to candidates who work in all aspects of the business. We also are medium agnostic, so TV, radio, whatever the case, it does not matter. We are just looking for folks who are looking to advance in their careers. And then the third point is that we expect folks to have some leadership experience. And we look at leadership in two ways. One of them is managing people, which, you know, is kind of the immediate thing that comes to mind. But the second thing is about managing a strategic project for an organization. So that may be, I manage a product for the organization that really helps to reach out to a certain community. I manage an app. I help manage our website. So, you know, we're open to what that means, but we're looking for folks that are managing something that is of some consequential importance to the organization itself, even if it's not people that you get to manage. Some more criteria. You should have aspirations of advancing in your career with the ultimate goal of running a news desk, a department, or an enterprise. The reason we bring this up is because those are some of the goals, as you know, that we have for the program. And so we want to make sure that we're aligned in that and starting with the program. And then this one is the most important by far. You have to have a desire to be a part of this program, a desire to learn, a desire to be coached, a desire to be mentored. And you have to be self-reflective. You have to say, okay, this is what I want. Where am I in that journey? And what do I need to take it to the next level? Of course, we know in this program, you'll learn new competencies, you'll think about things differently, but we have to start with a frame of reference so we know, one, if this program is what it takes to help you, and then two, how we can position this program to best help you achieve those goals. And then finally, you know, this is all about equity. You all know sometimes when it comes to equity, we have to have the tough conversations. And when it comes to enacting things that lead to more equity, we have to be creative and innovative. And sometimes when we think about innovation, it's all focused on the future, which is great. but we also have to be reflective and rooted in the past context of how we got to this moment in order to have the best solutions, and especially the most equitable solutions. And the participants aren't afraid to have these conversations, but are willing to do this with a balance of grace and accountability. So that's a really important key for us in this program as well. The following thing is just like a note. Participants from community media organizations are encouraged to apply. This is not just about diversifying white-owned institutions. This is about supporting the leaders of color that we have for today and the future, to be able to make sure that the needs of our communities are met. So whether you're at an organization that specifically is serving people of color or at more of a mainstream outlet, we really want to hear from you. So with all of that said, we now are going to talk about what the experience is like for executive advisors who are part of this program. The first part is about mentorship, and that's really the key for executive advisors. Executive advisors provide additional support to the fellow in one of these key areas of focus. You see that these keep coming up. And again, if you have another area of focus that you think really should be shared, you can feel free to share it in the application, which we'll talk about momentarily. There's an option to add other competencies as well. This is just a place to get started. The executive advisor, we expect them to spend at least 1 hour a month coaching and mentoring their fellow, but this could fluctuate to up to 4 hours a month, depending on both your and the fellow's availability and needs at the time. And you know, some of these hours, we're including time where maybe your fellow just emails you to ask you a question, or like, hey, can we hop on the phone very quickly? That's all included in this 1 to 4 hours. Before you get started, if you are chosen to be a part of this program, you'll receive training on how this relationship should be structured and work. Just, you know, because there's a lot of different thoughts about what mentorship is, and we want to make sure we're all coming into it with the same frame of reference. And I just want to note again, you'll be matched with a fellow based on the need of that fellow, not based on who you like or who you want to continue to talk to more. There will be opportunities to talk to all of the fellows, but in this instance, we're specifically focused on meeting the needs of a particular fellow. So what are some of the benefits of being an executive advisor? One, you have the ability to know different high-performing mid-career professionals in the area. A lot of times we only get to know folks in our organizations, or if we're a part of some of the organizations like PABJ or NAHJ, AAJA, we get to meet folks in those organizations, but really expanding our tent of talent and of the stars that are around. The second is about increasing equity in the news ecosystem. We all know that these recent times have shown that we really have to focus on equity in our personal lives and even more structurally. And so this is a really great opportunity to actually do some of that work by supporting someone who is really the future of equity and the current of equity here in Philadelphia. And also, it helps to enhance your leadership and management skills by working on the feedback, communication, and all those other interpersonal skills, keeping that toolbox sharp. Some more things are, you're able to take part in these trainings by CUNY. I cannot stress enough that these trainings, people apply to take part in these trainings. They pay a lot of money to be a part of these trainings. And so if there's an area where you're like, you know, I really don't know much about product, but I would like to learn more, you're welcome to come and join us in any of the sessions of your choice. And you also are welcome in certain months to have a coaching session with Joyelle. So these are kind of some auxiliary benefits of being a part of this program as well. And then finally, we don't believe in free labor. There's a stipend for sharing time and expertise. That stipend is $1,500 for your time. So what is the criteria we have for executive executive advisors. The first is we're looking for people who either run desks, departments, or news organizations. So this is a key distinction between the fellow and the executive advisor. If you're at the point where you're running a desk, a department, or an organization, this is really where you best fit. The second is being willing and able to mentor a fellow. Again, the most important thing is being willing to mentor them and being able. So it's not a heavy lift in terms of time, in terms of 1 to 4 hours a month. But you know, if you can't commit that time, or if you're not willing to commit that time, then this really isn't a good fit for you. We're looking for folks with strong coaching skills. We're looking at folks who are adept at influencing and motivating people, as that's a key part of the mentoring relationship. And we're looking for folks who have strong listening, relationship building, and interpersonal skills, and also can communicate well, again, with that grace and accountability balance in this work. So with all of that said, if you're still interested in this program, let's talk about what the application entails and what we're looking for in applicants. So for the fellows, we start with, you know, the basic background information that you fill out for any application you ever apply for. And then we ask questions about leadership. And you'll see for some of these questions, they'll sound really similar. What we're trying to get at is understanding the nuance of why you want to be a part of this program and what your goals are. And I'll explain that as we go through them. But we want to know about the leadership you're currently taking in your newsroom in Philadelphia, nationally. Now, to be clear, you don't have to be taking action on a national level or, you know, maybe even on the ecosystem level, but we just want to better understand what leadership you are taking, right? So this is to help current leaders even take it to the next level. It's not to start people who haven't started doing that work yet. The second is about how participating in this program will help increase your leadership capabilities. So really about, you know, these general leadership skills that we all need in order to lead well. There's the next question is about ultimate career and leadership goals. So when you're at the pinnacle of your career, what is it that you hope to be doing? And how will this program help you in achieving some of those goals? So we understand, hey, attending this program is not going to turn you into a publisher if that's your goal. But we want to understand what are the steps that you think you need to take to get there, and what role does this play in one of those steps? So that's what those questions are about. We then ask about the program itself and the support of the program. So first off, what makes you a good candidate for the program? And this is, most of these questions are about how can we help you? And this one is about how is your addition to the program going to help this cohort, your peers, your advisors, Lenfest, everybody. And so really think about that intentionally, about what am I adding into this program? The second is about what are you hoping to gain from taking part in this program? So again, what are those competencies and things that you're looking to gain? What are the relationships you're hoping to cultivate? Really let us know more about those thoughts. And then finally, what are the top skills and competencies that you want to cultivate? You can pull from the competencies we're really addressing in this program, or others like networking or invisibility or other things. But we really want to understand this so that we can help evaluate whether this program is the best way for you to achieve those goals, and again, how we can be most effective if the program is. And then finally, references. We're looking for a letter of recommendation from a supervisor or someone who works closely with you if you are the boss, because I know some of you are the boss. Recommendations are due by August 1st. I also want to note in this, the recommender is required to talk about what work is the newsroom itself doing to advance equity and to provide opportunities for people of color to advance in positions of leadership at the organization. We realize that no program is going to deal with the systemic barriers that have been placed ahead of people of color in advancing to positions of leadership. And so we really want to understand what is this organization doing to help advance this as well. And then we want examples of your work product. And this is really, really broad. We know some of you are editors, some of you are developing products and apps and websites and things like that. It's not a one size fits all. So if you're an editor, you may want to show 4 or 2 stories that you helped walk people through that process that were really impactful, or things that you think really show what role you play in helping make sure that our stories are told and amplified. If you're in product, you may want to say, here's an app, or here are some screen shares of some of the work that I've done, or some wireframes of the work I'm currently doing. And we also ask for you to explain your role in each of them. Really think of this as tying back to your application, the questions you asked before, and helping us to better understand what is the impact you're already having, so that we can better understand where this program can help you go. For executive advisors, the application is much, much simpler. So the first is background information. Again, you guys know the drill there. And then the second category is really about competencies. And we ask 3 key questions. What expertise are you willing to share? Again, we ask around the 5 key competencies that we're addressing, but also provide space for you to talk about other competencies. How do you actually demonstrate that expertise? So what would I see you do to show that you're an expert in this area? And then finally, tell us about some past examples where you actually have used this expertise, and what were the results of that? So really, this helps us when we get to the point of choosing the cohort of fellows, being able to match you with the person that you can best pour into and best add to in this process. So how will my application be evaluated? Every application is going to be reviewed based on the following criteria. The first is around current professional achievement, which is the question that we're posing to ourselves in the review processes. Is this applicant outperforming their peers in terms of work output or career advancement? The second is about growth potential. Does the candidate show signs that they can advance to positions of leadership? The third is leadership skills. So does this person have a following or mentor others? Do they have the capacity to do so if they're not already? The fourth is about spreading ideas. Is this person an active participant in the Philadelphia news ecosystem? Will they share what they learned with others? And then the final thing is passion for diversity. Does this person understand the issues of diversity in news and want to actively work to create a more equitable news ecosystem? So these are the questions that we'll be evaluating your application based off of. And the better the application answers these questions, the better it will, or the further it'll be able to advance in the process. What makes a strong application? The first is a really obvious one, but it meets all of the eligibility criteria because otherwise this is a non-starter. The second one is underrated, but I can't stress it enough. You have to have a clearly stated application. And it has to include professional goals, competencies you want to develop, and how this program will help you achieve those goals. Without that, we can't effectively evaluate whether you're a good fit for this program. I highly recommend starting this application in advance, taking a break from it, coming back and reviewing it again and editing it to make sure it's getting your point across. I even recommend getting an outside person who you trust. Can you read this application and make sure it conveys what I'm trying to convey? Because unfortunately, we can't do a lot of back and forth with the application. The application has to speak for itself. I should also note that in some of the rounds of reviews, we will not know who you are. And so the application has to stand on its own. Your reputation will not precede you in this context. And so you have to think of the application as like, if this is all people know about me, does this make the case? And so really, really take time to cultivate that. The rest of the stuff on this screen as well as the next screen are things that we already talked about, the key criteria that we'll be evaluating your application on. So just FYI, obviously that's going to make a stronger application because that's what we're reviewing based off of. So with all of that, that's all we have in terms of the actual formal presentation piece of this program. But we're really excited to answer some questions you all may have regarding this program. So I'll turn it over to Kira, who will start sharing some of the questions that you all raised.
Yeah, so thanks for that, Cheryl. That was awesome. One of the questions that we got, which I thought would be really nice to start off with, is just a simple one, but an important question. How do you actually define mid-career?
Yes. So this is a complicated question in that it depends. And so that's, it kind of goes back to what I was bringing up around leadership. How we're defining mid-career is that you have leadership responsibilities. Just to let you all behind the curtain a little bit, we iterated on this program constantly, and one of the key questions was exactly this question being raised. And in one iteration of this, we said you had to have a certain number of years of experience. But we wanted to be mindful of the fact that at some organizations, people rise to different levels of leadership at different times based on the needs of that organization and also, work output. And so we didn't want to say you have to work for 10 years before you're considered mid-career. So how we're defining mid-career is really leadership. It's really about that leadership piece. Are you managing people, or are you managing strategic projects of priority to your organization? So I hope that's helpful.
Yeah, and then sort of twofold to that question, there was also a facet of there are a limited number of newsrooms in Philly that have people of color. So can freelancers that are struggling to join newsrooms but aspire to be leaders in newsrooms apply?
Absolutely. And so in the context of being a freelancer, as you're approaching this application, you really want to focus on where you're trying to go. And you may want to look for, if you're not freelancing in a way where you technically have leadership, responsibilities in your role currently, are there other aspects of your life where you're showing leadership, specifically in journalism, in the ecosystem? I say that, and an example may be like, hey, I don't work at a news organization, and where I'm managing a team of folks, but I work at I'm a volunteer at PABJ, and I manage a task force, or I help lead this event, and here's the leadership I showed in that context and why. I think also, as you're thinking about that, the person that you ask for your recommendation for should be someone who really knows about your leadership. So as you're thinking about that, it may be best if using that illustrative example, that I asked someone from the team at PABJ to do my recommendation, as opposed to an editor that I pitch to and I just give stories to as well. So yes, freelancers are definitely encouraged to apply, but you have to think about the application and how you show those leadership skills in a slightly different way.
So another question we got was, could folks with journalism experience that are starting new newsrooms and journalism platforms apply? So sort of maybe thinking about people who are thinking about creating community-focused journalism platforms instead of working at an established news organization.
Yes, absolutely. So yes, I mean, the simple question is yes. When we're thinking about diversifying the news ecosystem here in Philadelphia, we recognize that it's not just about the mainstream outlets or even existing outlets, but that it's about providing people of color with the access to training and opportunities that help them to serve the community in whatever way they deem to be best. So yes, absolutely. If you're starting a new enterprise, if you're an entrepreneur, you absolutely can feel welcome to apply. Again, kind of back to that freelancer point, really think about how you're framing yourself in this application to show those leadership skills and be able to share the work that you're doing as well.
So I know we're running a little bit low on time, but there's just two other sort of logistical questions that I think I should throw out there just in case other people are wondering. The first is just how will the training, mentorship, and coaching take place given sort of the uncertainty with COVID-19?
Great question. So as we noted in the training portion, we are tenuously planning to host that first session in person. Of course, we're going to keep our eyes out for CDC guidelines, and we already have a plan to take it completely virtual if needed. But we're just hoping to be able to have that first meeting with the cohort in person, because there's something about that just can't be replaced. All of the other trainings, except maybe the last one, if we're in a different place in 2021, hopefully, will take place virtually. So you won't have to leave your home or wherever you're located for that. The second piece is all career coaching will be virtual as well. So you'll just log into Zoom like you did today and have those meetings with a career coach. Finally, for the mentorship, we are highly recommending that all of the meetings take place virtually. And obviously that's ultimately up to the mentor and mentee in that relationship, but we are highly recommending that you just, hey, let's find some time and just, hop on the horn and talk about it, just to reduce the risk of exposure and those different interactions, at least until COVID gets a little more figured out.
Yeah, so just one last sort of logistical question other than just how do you apply. Excuse me, can people still apply if they've already been a previous Lenfest grantee?
Yes, absolutely. So we definitely want folks who apply, because this is a program that kind of has never been done, and we've never really attacked this mid-career level. So if you're someone who has been a next gen grantee or has received a grant in any of our other various programs, yes, you are more than welcomed and encouraged to apply if this program is a good fit for you. Awesome. So I know we are running low on time. So hopefully that's helpful in answering the questions that folks have. If not, you all can feel free to reach out to us at grants@lenfestinstitute.org. Yulia is graciously sharing the link to the application in case any of you haven't had a chance to see that or want to look at the questions a little more in depth in the application. Please keep in mind that applications close July 17th at 11:59 p.m. They will not reopen. And so if you miss that deadline, it really is 11:59. It's not midnight. Then that's just a little too late. I will note one other thing that I cannot stress enough. Please, during this time, check your spam folder. We send all of our messages out via Submittable, which is the platform you'll be applying from. And sometimes it's a bit wonky and things will go to spam. We may reach out to you during this process to get follow-up information. And if you don't respond, we just kind of have to move on, unfortunately. And so I implore you to check your spam folder at least once a week, just to make sure you didn't miss anything from us. One good way to check this is once you submit an application, you should get an email from us saying, thank you, we've received your application, we look forward to reading it. If you do not see that email, check your spam and it should be there. So just one note that I can't stress enough, because in the past we've had to pass over great candidates in other programs because they didn't respond. So one last little piece of advice. But in any case, I thank you all so much for joining us. This will be recorded and shared with everyone who RSVP'd. Thank you all so much for everything you do. I hope you all have some time off and are able to rest and restore. But in the meantime, thank you all so much for joining, and I hope you all have a great day.